Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2. I'm Mike Maloney from the Greenville Veterans Memorial Park and Digital Library. Again, this is our second episode. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. This is our Thanksgiving episode, and it is episode 2. If you missed our first episode, please go back and check it out. It's a great interview of Jack Brankamp, last year's 3rd District Commander. What we're doing here is interviewing veterans and veterans' families so we can preserve their memories in possible video format and digital format of their pictures and memorabilia and all that other stuff. We're putting this all in a library, and eventually we're working towards building a memorial here in Greenville, Ohio. We're filming right now from Greenville Senior High School, home of the Greenville Green Wave, at IMTV, for which we were very grateful. On our Thanksgiving show here, we want to show our gratitude on Thanksgiving and give Thanksgiving for what we have. We just actually started this maybe 8 months ago, and of course we're asking for donations and fundraising and so forth, but now we're actually getting to the work of it and actually recording families and actually soliciting memorabilia and stories and histories and so forth. And we're doing pretty well already. Look, we've landed a studio to actually talk to fine people every Friday. Our plan is to talk to someone every Friday and get a veteran's perspective from their family or from that veteran themselves. So we're grateful for that, and we're grateful all around. And we're coming full circle on this because today I have some very, very distinguished folks that are representative of our VFW Post 7262's third post commander. And so that's like 67 years ago. Their dad was post commander of Post 7262. And we're going to talk to them at length here. And pick their brain about what they know and what they remember, and let them share what they want to share. I won't steal their fire or anything like that. They're going to be able to praise their dad way better than I could. I knew him also. But I'm very grateful for that because back when I first got into as a post member of the VFW about 2004, Cheryl and I had discussed trying to do something with veterans' memorabilia, that what to do with it. It would be nice if we had a place to put this memorabilia of past veterans, and that kind of cooked the idea 10 years ago, and now here we are actually trying to implement it and trying to work it into the deal, and so far it's going very well. Again, gratitude for Thanksgiving, and I'm going to go ahead and introduce these fine people and let them tell the story of their dad. First, we have John Slonaker, and then Cheryl Slonaker Gilmore. Sorry, and we're going to let them take off. Please, I'll start with you, John. Please, if you can go back, what do you remember about your dad's service, of him telling you and so forth, or if you can give us what he did.
Okay.
And how he was eligible for the VFW, and what you remember about that. If you can just kind of expand on that for us.
Well, when Cheryl called me and told me that what we were going to do, I tried to pick my brain to see what.
Good.
And I can remember as a young child back in, I think it was 1943 when Dad went into the service. I can remember my grandfather, Ralph Slonaker, and my mother and we were standing at the bus for the boys that were getting on the bus to go to Great Lakes naval thing. When I remember that, she wouldn't remember because she wasn't there yet. I'm the pre-war baby, and she's the post-war baby. So I can remember him going, and I was about 7 or 8 years old, and I remember those.
I'm sorry, John. You said you were the pre-war, she was the post. When were you born, John?
I was born in 1935.
35, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I can remember him getting on that bus, going to Great Lakes, and then...
Now, where were you then? When he got on the bus, where were you located?
Oh, I was standing right beside the bus.
I mean, where? What was your... Were you in Ohio here?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
okay.
I was right...
It all occurred here, okay.
Right, yeah. It was, see, Granddad Slonaker was the... I think was on the draft board. And I think the bus left from... Because the draft board, if I remember, was upstairs, right across from where the Randall Insurance is, right down the alley there from C.J. Miller's funeral home, which is the other grandfather. And the Colmore Tea Room was right beside that place.
Oh, it was
and
right
then,
above Primple's.
yeah, and
Primple's
then,
Insurance Company.
so the draft board was up the stairs, and that's where everybody, as I remember, everybody had when they were drafted for 2.5 years. So Dad was in there, and he was one of the older ones. I think he was, I think the guys that were in the service with him were the 18 and 19-year-olds.
He was
So
20,
Dad was,
21.
yeah, because, the war was won by those people. So they would call him the old man, I think, because he was 23, 24 at that time when he went to service. He went to Great Lakes, came home on leave, and then he was gone. We didn't see him again until he came home.
Yeah.
So he went to San Francisco, I think by train or something.
And then he was gone for how long?
Well, he was gone from whenever that was, 43 to 45. The war was over when he came home. His last tour of duty, I think, was in Tokyo. So that had to be after the war was over. But he was when she started talking to me, I got the globe out and I tried to picture where all he was. He got on this boat that was supposed to be the secret weapon of World War II, and that was called the LST. The LST was a landing ship tank, and they hauled the Marines around, and then 4 or 5 tanks, and a company or a brigade of Marines or whatever were on there, and they would pull right up to the beaches, open the door, and out come the tanks, going full squat. So I can remember him saying that, and just in passing, he was in on the first wave at Leyte Gulf in the Philippines when MacArthur went back to reclaim the Philippines.
On his return, where I will return and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I remember seeing pictures of him wading ashore, and I said, "Well, Dad's right there somewhere." And so
what was his job?
he was the storekeeper.
He was in the Navy, right?
Yeah, he was in the Navy, and he was the storekeeper. That was the plus job on ship.
Is that like the quartermaster or something
Yeah,
like that?
he was a quarter.
Like that,
yeah, he was a quartermaster.
Right on. Quartermasters are cool.
And he was a wheeler dealer, as those who knew him in later years.
Yeah.
He would wheel.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember he could talk the talk.
Yeah,
I remember.
Yeah, and when his ship was running out of supplies, he would bargain with other boats and secure that. I do remember him saying that when it was time for combat, his job was help reload the guns. So he had stood there and passed the shells up to the gunner mate, and that's what his job was. And so he said that was kind of uneventful. But he did tell me, he says, we weren't too smart back in those days. The Japanese would fly those dang kamikaze airplanes in between the boats, and they would be shooting at the planes, and then shooting at each other. So so friendly fire, as they say.
Yeah.
So then I think after the Philippines, I kind of lost track of where he went from there because.
Then you go to south.
Well, yeah,
Down
I
in-
think he probably went back to he got on at New Hollandia, New Guinea. That's where he met the ship. And I don't know where he went to New Caledonia or not. Because I remember looking at the map and New Caledonia is in that area. He never made it to Guam. And I don't know whether he went to Australia or not.
I don't think so.
I don't think so, but if you look at the map of that area, the world, Australia is not too far from the Philippines. And so after that, I think he went to Luzon. And that whole area of the Philippines, from Leyte clear up to Mindanao, and then after that, things are kind of fuzzy. I don't remember what after that. Then I remember when he wrote to Mom, what he could, during those days they censored everything that you sent back to home because they didn't want to give, loose ships sink ships. Yeah. Loose lips sink ships. Yeah, that was the famous saying back in the Second World War. And then after he came home, he brought all this stuff back, which she has, and she'll tell you more about that because about that time I was getting ready to go to college, and she came along in 1946. 47. Okay. So by 47, I was getting up there in high school, and in 53 I went down to Miami. So and then she was home by herself, and I never came back.
Well, now when because you went to Miami University,
right,
in Oxford,
right,
and then aren't you like famous yourself? Aren't you a famous? Weren't you like a band guy or something like that for Troy? Please tell us about that.
Oh yeah, I was a band director at Troy High School from 1962 to 1987. Yeah. I started out at Bradford for 3 years, and then I went to the Army for 2 years in 59 to 61. Came to Troy in 62, and that's been my home ever since. And met this gal over there, and then of course we've been married for 53 or 4 years.
Congratulations. That's part of it. The reason I asked that is because not only did Bob Slonaker go serve his country in World War II, but he created a legacy. You're part of that. Oh yeah. You're part of that. You were a teacher. You came back to Troy and served there.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
It's not just the miraculous things they did while they served. It's when they came back. They didn't. Well, I'm done. I did everything I wanted to do now. Well, they continued. They never stopped serving.
Well, teaching was in our blood because my Aunt Mary Alice, Dad's sister, was a music teacher out in the Arcanum area, Franklin Monroe area, and so until she got ill with multiple sclerosis, and then my grandfather and grandmother, they took care of her until she passed. But she was a good musician. My granddad was a good musician. And I can remember back over here at the park, over here in the which I still play in this park band over here. And they say we're going to have a new one over there next year. So, okay. Well, anyway.
Well, I wanted to brag on you one more thing, and
okay.
then we'll move on. Didn't you're a pretty good trumpet player or something, right?
Well, I've been known to do that, yeah.
And didn't you just play somewhere at the Garth Museum? Can you tell us about that?
Well, yeah, we just played at the Garth Museum this last weekend, or a weekend ago.
And what was going on there? Tell us about it.
Well, that was what was that? Oh, that was the Veterans Day salute for the museum out there, and yeah, we did play out there. And I play with a group called the Swing Era Group, and its roots go back to Sydney, Ohio. This guy took all the old band charts that he could find from Woody Herman, et cetera, and Count Basie and all this kind of stuff, and we did them, and we play for the folks. We play for, right now, we used to play for dances a lot, but nobody dances anymore unless it's Boogaloo or something like that. So, yeah, I got, as a matter of fact, tomorrow I'm playing over at the mall in Piqua.
How can you do that with your finger?
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. So.
All right, the mall in Piqua.
Right.
Right on. Let me get back to something else, historical-wise, that I would like to pick your brain on what you know. What do you remember about the draft board? How did the draft board work? And everyone knows slightly it was like the lottery and stuff like that. What do you know about that?
Yeah, well, you had a number. You were either 1A, 2A, 4F. 4F was mean you didn't have to go,
Yeah,
you had flat
yeah.
feet.
Right.
And
4F was a medical thing you couldn't serve. Right. Okay.
Right, and there was, or else you aged out or something like that. It was, the draft was from 21 to 25 or something like this. Of course, since Dad was older, they took the 21-year-olds first, and then they got around to the 25-year-olds later on. But it was a board that was set up under the Roosevelt things, and
Right, but was it set up at the local level, at the
Oh, yeah.
county level, city
yeah,
level?
local
Yeah.
level, and it was above Granddad's.
And how did the board get created? Who decided?
Well, it was a political.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah, it was
wanted
a
to get to.
political entity,
Yeah.
and you were on the draft board, and you had all these names and lists of people and their draft numbers up there, and greetings from Uncle Sam, you know.
Yeah. A little bit more on this, because from what I've known about it, it's based off birthdays. If your
Yes,
birthday's
right.
this date, you're going to get drafted or something like that.
Right.
And then you mentioned draft numbers. How's the draft numbers go along with?
I'm
the
sure it was
birthday?
birthdays.
Oh, okay, so they.
I'm sure it was birthdays, and okay, I'm drawing a blank.
Well, Cheryl, you worked there?
I worked at the draft board for 2 years.
What years?
Oh gosh,
That
it
was
was
exciting. I didn't know that.
60, 65. Let's see. It was a year and a half. It's from 65 to up to
We still
when I
had
got
the draft
right
in
before I
the
got
non-area.
married.
Right.
in
What did you
66.
do for it? What were you?
I was their general secretary. I'm the one that wrote out the little.
Oh.
Guess what? You're going.
Ah.
Greetings from Uncle
Greetings
Sam.
from Uncle
So it
Sam.
was by date of birth, right?
It went by date of birth.
Yeah. So anyone born on this day,
Yeah, yeah.
check in. Or whatever.
It just, and when I get to thinking about it, it just kind of slays me because I sent a lot of my classmates off
Oh yeah. Yeah.
to Vietnam,
Yeah.
and it just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cheryl, you'll never.
I worked for Estelle Snyder.
Yeah.
If anybody knows Estelle Snyder, she's very hard to work for.
Ah. Who now? So you worked for a board. Do you know who was on that board? It was Dark County. Is that
Oh,
right?
I can't remember who was on that board.
But Stella was on there, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was the, I can't think what that guy's name, he was bald-headed, wore glasses.
Can you give me any input on how they were selected? Was it just?
I think it was a political thing.
Yeah, I think it was all political.
Again, if you didn't catch that, we're filming right here at Greenville Senior High School, the IMTV. Very grateful for them and all they do for us. We were talking about the draft board, and we talked about that. To me, that was very interesting. And now, in keeping with the tradition of this show of Never Stop Serving, I would like John and probably more Cheryl to talk about Bob's how he continued to serve. He never stopped serving, and this is how I know Bob at the VFW and what he did. So please, Cheryl, tell us about that.
Well, Dad served the VFW as their third commander, but that was back before, I think I might have been born.
Yeah, probably. It was because 47, it had been about 50.
I think it might have been 52.
Yeah, the VFW started here in,
Yeah.
in 47.
Well, I don't know if you're aware that whenever the guys got off ship, somebody come to them and asked them if they wanted to join the VFW.
I was aware of that. I'm glad you brought it up. Keep going.
And so Dad went and he joined, and then when he got back to Greenville, he went to John Ingleton. And he said, John,
One second, if you don't know, John Ingleton's the first commander. He's the founding. He's the founding commander. He was the very first commander, John Ingleton.
Yeah, and he told him about it, and John decided, together it would be a good idea to start a VFW post in Greenville. Well, Dad, by not being a member of Post 7262, had to get all his papers sent from out San Francisco. And I just, I can't tell you a whole lot because Dad never talked too much about the war and the things that he did.
Right.
Unless it was ornery stuff.
Right.
But
tell you the fun stuff, wouldn't he?
yeah. But anyway, Dad served the VFW very, very well.
Yeah, well, he must have. I mean, he was, like you said, he was third, and I knew of him when I got into the VFW when I was 10 with the Sons of VFW, because I think, I'm not positive, and I'm going to look into this, I think Bob, your dad, had something to do with starting the Sons, even though...
you might be right.
Even though Dennis Young and Larry McClure were the first advisors, I think, I'm pretty sure Bob had something to do behind that.
I think he did. I think he did.
Behind the scenes. And
I
we'll look
remember
at,
that.
I'll be able to...
Yeah.
I'm working on the full history of Greenville history, and I'm working on it, piecing it together.
I can't remember. See, your second commander was John Sargent.
Yes.
And then Dad. And was Uncle Ray?
Either
Ray
Ray or
Henderson,
Harold Spittler, I don't know which.
It was either Ray Henderson or Harold Spittler.
Right.
Was the fourth.
Right.
And then I think Dad came in at the fifth one or the sixth one again.
Right. He served a couple times. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. When do you remember first going to VFW, being involved with that?
When I was a little brat.
Yeah.
When they were down underneath where Klepinger's insurance agency is now.
Yeah.
It was downstairs, and then the upstairs
So you
was
remember
the dance
being
hall.
in that basement and it being the VFW?
Yes.
There's
Yes,
not
I
that
do.
many people that remember that.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
Because I remember as kids, we would have Wilbur McMackin's son, and me, and Glunt, John and
John.
Bill and Joanne Gluntz.
I remember them.
And us kids, we would run up and down them steps.
Steps.
And play.
The bathroom. There's a bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bathroom was upstairs.
Yeah, but we would run up and down them steps and go outside and play, and then they would have dances upstairs, and yeah.
Where did, do you remember when the VFW moved and where they went to?
When they left there,
They go to the bowling alley?
they
Say
went
it.
upstairs there was a group of shareholders that bought the bowling alley.
Yeah, I want to hear this. Let's hear this.
And my dad was one, Dr. Maurice Kane was another one.
Your dad was a shareholder of the building?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
know that. Okay.
Dad was shareholder. I can't remember. Those only two I can remember.
Dr. Kane was our doctor, that's the reason we went
Yeah.
with him.
I can't remember who the other ones were.
He was a doctor or a dentist?
He was a
GP.
medical doctor.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Yeah. But they then had the upstairs was the VFW.
Right.
And you had to go through the bowling alley and go through up the steps.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I joined in 1970.
Yeah, that's, I wasn't a member then, of course, in 70, but I remember it being up there. Dorsey Biller,
Yeah.
another past commander, was
Yeah.
the canteen manager up there,
Yeah.
and gave my mom a job,
Yeah.
and that's how that all started. My dad
Yeah.
was a member, VFW member,
Yeah.
and when my mom got a job there, that's when it all started, you know. At least that's when my VFW history started. after that.
I was trying to think of who the president was.
And after Cedar,
I don't know if it was.
That was Cedar Street, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was on Cedar Street.
and after Cedar, we
Then
obviously
they went. Then they.
they got their home. Did you agree that was 76 when they went to? I think it was our bicentennial year.
I think so.
Somewhere around there.
I think it was.
I remember being at the VFW now.
Yeah.
I remember being there when it was 2x4s.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and just see
Now,
that.
you know,
going around playing in there.
I never went there.
And it was cinder
because
blocks
I
and
already
stuff.
had my.
I remember that very
had my
well.
Family, yeah.
Because every time I go in there, sometimes I'm like, man, this is, you know, that was a long time ago. A long time ago.
I just remember when before they started it up, and they were trying to clear off the land, and Dad would find stuff like people would throw mattresses and stuff back in there. Watch out. Well, he'd go back and burn it.
The dump, yeah.
Burn it, and then they have to send the fire department and said, okay, Slonaker's burning again. But anyway, those are just little.
You know, one of our interviews before we got a little bit more organized, I interviewed Don Dietrich, and he literally said, you know, where the Greenville Veterans Memorial Park is, he said it used to be a dump. You're exactly right.
You're right. It was a
Don
dump.
was like, this used to be a dump, you know. I was like, oh, great interview, Don, you know, it used to be a dump, you know. But no, it's, you know, and this is what they made.
Great
you know.
use of dump.
This is, again, this is never stop serving, you know, what these guys did, they came back in this energy and they developed that, you know, and look at what's out there now, you know.
Yeah.
So we owe them a debt of gratitude on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
What else? What else have we need to talk about with Bob?
Well, he
was a fun-loving man.
Yeah, he was, and he could sell a refrigerator to an Eskimo. You know, I can remember sitting with him down at the Ed Cornell's shop there, and I used to go in and wait for him to come home, and he'd have one of these Dark County farmers come in and say, Bob, I got to go to a wedding or I got to go to a funeral. I need turned it into a suit and a shirt, a tie, and shoes, a top coat, and all kinds of stuff. He just said, well, now you need this, now you need this, you need the Nunbo shoes, and you need the Hart Chapner Mark suits. I just shook my head. I said, okay.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that Dad used to run ambulance runs with Homer Miller.
Yeah.
Really?
Go out and pick up dead bodies.
Oh, I didn't
Well,
know
I've
that.
been on a few of those runs.
Yeah.
I didn't know
Because
was
Homer was his brother-in-law, was CJ's son.
Yes.
C.T. Miller.
C.J. Miller was the maternal grandfather.
That was our mother's.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mother's
That's,
dad.
Our mother was a Miller.
that's who handled our father's funeral arrangements. In
And I can
78.
still remember C.J. on Saturday night. You know the courthouse where there's the
Right.
The staff.
concrete steps. He'd go around there on Saturday night, and he'd say, "Hi, I'm C.J. Miller. If you ever need me, my number is." And he'd go around all those farmers in there. He had more business than he can shake a stick at.
Yeah.
He was
Right.
dumb like a fox.
Wow.
He was very personable.
Yep,
Wow.
he was. Both grandfathers were good salesmen, and I can remember during the war years, since Dad was gone, I kind of leaned pretty heavily on Ralph Slonaker, and being a musician, and my grandmother was a piano player, and my aunt was a music teacher. He gave me the first bugle that I ever had when I was knee-high to a grasshopper. I used to terrorize Elm Street down there on my tricycle, blowing the heck out of that little bugle. I still have that at home sitting on my table. And just little things like that. Remember going down. Of course, when I was little, we were just coming out of the Great Depression.
Right.
And so things were, I can remember $12 a week at work and trying to stretch, you know, all that, and before he went to the service. So if it wasn't for Grandpa, Grandma, and Grandpa Miller and Grandpa Slonaker, we used to go down there every Sunday and have chicken dinner.
Yeah.
Every Sunday.
And if you didn't show up, it was,
Like you had heck to pay.
yeah.
Yeah.
When you said Ed Cornell's, you were talking about Ed Cornell's, it just brings back memories to me. Every time I go in there, it wasn't, hey, what's up, Mike Maloney? He'd say, hey, there's one of them Odie boys, because my grandmother, my mom's mother, Oda, is Odie boys. That's one of them
Were
Odie
you an
boys.
Odie?
Yeah, I'm an
You
Odie
were?
boy.
Okay, well, we're
Well,
relation then.
my last name is Maloney, of course. My mom, married Maloney.
Okay.
But he, that Odie boy,
We're related to some Odies from Piqua.
Yeah.
Was it Grandma's
Yeah, well, Jim Odie is the historian.
Grandma's
over in
brother
Piqua. Yeah. Grandma's
or Grandma's
sister.
sister?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was.
Anyway,
But anyway, so you play the trumpet,
Yeah,
and
still do.
And now on Memorial Day, I said 47. I'm wrong. It's 46. It's 46 May 24th. 46 will be our 70th anniversary, and that just happens to be around Memorial Day this year, which the Greenville Veterans Memorial Park and Digital Library is going to have kind of a special presentation, at least at a minimum, for our past commanders, our past presidents that got us to 70 years. And obviously Bob is charter and all that other good stuff, and it would be a prominent position. Wouldn't it be nice if when we did Memorial Day taps, we had like somebody that was like really good at playing taps, that was related closely to one of our past commanders,
Yeah.
I think
Well,
it'd be a good
Just
idea.
putting that out there. Think about it. You don't have to commit.
Well,
now
I do
on
play.
TV or
I
anything.
play taps over in Piqua on Memorial Day, where they have a big parade over there. I'm a member of the
Oh, the
Piqua.
Tate?
Yeah.
So you're saying as long as we don't conflict with that, we could get you, huh?
Well,
Yeah.
I just this morning.
We'll talk. Yeah, we'll talk.
Just this morning, I read in the newspaper in Troy that a good friend of ours, of mine, that I taught with down at St. Pat's, her husband died, and he was a veteran, and I noticed in there we're going to have a memorial service, and I got on the phone, called the funeral home, and I said, I'm on a standing call with Baird's Funeral Home over there.
Oh, so you do. Okay.
So every time they want a live musicians, they call me. And if I can't make it, they use that play bugle. And these people are kind of special to me. And I said, tell them I'll be there to play taps on Tuesday. That's this next Tuesday.
Good.
So,
Okay. So you never stop serving.
well,
It's part of the legacy. It's part of the
Right.
legacy we're talking
that's
about.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So anyways, we'll pinch you in there, and maybe we'll talk about it later and
Yeah.
ask you later. Because we could even probably have that band entertain us after dinner or something like that.
Well,
We'll talk. We'll
Okay.
talk about that later. We won't put you on the spot here right on TV or anything like that. But just keep that in mind.
I don't own the band, so.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about it. Well, I'm very grateful for John Slonaker and Cheryl Gilmore to be here today to talk about Bob Slonaker. Obviously, one of my missions is going to get all the goodies that Cheryl has and try to get digital copies of them, photographs of them, and we're going to make Bob his own file. Because that's the idea. They make the veterans their own library. When we say digital library, everybody will have their own library to where, Cheryl's ancestors, or I'm sorry, descendants, they're our kids and our generations from the future will be able to look back and see this
okay,
stuff.
Mike,
and see
talk
you
about this future generation. I've got a grandson who is 16 years old. He belongs to the Naval Sea Cadets. And that is he's out of Michigan.
He's
and
16? Oh, so I see he's like in a JRTC.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Only they call it Naval Sea
Right, Sea
Cadets.
Cadets,
Okay, well, he has been in this since he's been 10 years of age. And he has worked his way up. And just recently, we went to a ceremony, the most impressive ceremony. He made Chief Petty Officer.
Woohoo! Yes. Right on.
And I went through Dad's stuff and I found his draft card and I found his little bit of things, and I sent them to Sam. And Sam keeps them in his pocket at all times.
That's cool.
Because he knows his grandpa's with him.
That is cool.
That's great.
That is awesome. That's awesome.
And I got the neatest letter that he wrote.
Yeah. You got it with you?
I have it.
Is it in your bag?
It's in my bag.
If I get it, will you read it out loud?
I sure
All right.
will.
Hang on a second. I'm getting the bag.
I sure will. Because I'm just as proud as pie about that kid.
Yeah. As you should be.
All right. Here is the bag. Let me get your paws in there. All right. So we're going to check out this letter here in just a second.
Oh gosh, what's that?
This guy's going to be an admiral someday.
Huh?
He's going to be an admiral someday. Are we on pause or are we on?
Oh, they can edit this out.
Okay.
They'll be able to chop this out. You guys will be able to chop this out, of course.
Yeah.
Hopefully. If
Chop
not,
this stupid
if
stuff
not,
out here.
just leave it in there with me laying on my head and stuff. Amen.
I can remember sitting on the bar stools down at the BFW and drinking my Coca-Cola with the boys, and that's when it was.
That's what I should have done. I should have brought that picture. I got that picture of Dad.
Let me lead you back in here. Okay, we're back, and Cheryl has said if I got the letter for her, which I did, she was going to read it for us. Take it away, Cheryl.
Okay, it says, to whom it may concern, because Sam wrote it to the VFW. Okay. Many years ago, when I was in the 5th grade, I decided it was time to do something productive. At that moment, it was the beginning of my long adventure in the United States Naval Sea Cadet Corps, or USNC as for short. Choosing to be in this program was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life. I joined at the age of 10 with the Commodore Perry Division in Perrysburg, Ohio as a League cadet. During my first summer in the program, I went to the Navy League organization and had no clue what to expect. Overall, it was pretty easy and gave me great knowledge of the Navy. The following summer, I went on to the most fun but emotional trainings. For 11 days, I was on the SCS Gray Fox, formerly the USS Gray Fox, TWR 825. Throughout this training, we did a lot for the community of Bay City, Michigan. We gave tours of the ship and took people out for short cruises aboard the ship. One of the days we found out that a local family lost their father overseas, and we invited them aboard. While aboard, we had a burial at sea for this petty officer, 2nd class. It was a very emotional thing to participate in, and I will never forget it. As you get older, you transfer up from the League Cadet to a Sea Cadet. When you are a Sea Cadet, you have to go through a real recruit training. I went to RTC Great Lakes, Illinois in June of 2012. Because that is in the real naval RT, you are treated just like a Navy recruit and are trained by the recruit division commanders. We get almost the exact same experience as a recruit, but ours is only 9 days. Upon graduating boot camp, it was time to go back to drill, but not as a recruit, but as a seaman apprentice. To start off a new training year, I went to Coast Guard training in Toledo, Ohio. On this training, I washed boats, ate food, and got to know everyone at the base. During the week I was there, we could not do a lot because the Coast Guard was searching for a missing body. Later that summer, I got promoted to seaman and went to Honor Guard training in Vassar, Michigan. Throughout this training, I learned the proper ways to do morning collars, evening colors, color guards, and rifle drill. The honor guard training was one of my favorite trainings because color guard are something I am very good at and passionate about. Even later that summer, I started a new journey at the Sea Cadet program. The commanding officer of Commodore Perry left, and so did my motivation. I found out the CO was starting a new division in Monroe, Michigan called Wolverine Division. I decided it was best for me to transfer to Wolverine Division and was soon appointed as the division's first color guard commander and promoted to Petty Officer 3rd Class. Over that winter, I went to Petty Officer Leadership Training called POLA. This training teaches you the ways to be the best leader you can be. I did not enjoy the training mainly because it was winter in Marseilles, Illinois, and was around 30 degrees below every day. At the beginning of June 2014, I received my petty officer 2nd class promotion. Later that month, I went back to RTC Great Lakes and started the training as a medical staff cadet. For the 10 days I was there, I treated many recruits from foot injuries. A month later, I went to Fort Custer in Battle Creek, Michigan, to be a staff cadet for NLO. With the help from my other staff cadets and all our motivation, we went on the earned honor company out of 3 other NLO companies. Then summer was over and it was time to go back to drill. In the month of December 2014, I earned the rank of Petty Officer 2nd Class and received the VFW medal from the VFW post in Monroe, Michigan. Well, here I am at age 16. On June 7th, 2015, I was selected to be promoted to the highest rank in the Sea Cadet program, Chief Petty Officer, and was appointed to Command Chief of Wolverine Division. In 1 week, I will be traveling back to Battle Creek at the Command Chief of Fort Custer. This means I will be responsible of ensuring the training runs well and making things happen. I also have been selected to go to San Diego, California aboard the USS Ronald Reagan with 2 other shipmates after this month. As a newly appointed CPO, I have big shoes to fill and plans on having to jump into even bigger shoes. We are the best unit in Region 9, and I plan to keep excelling all of my cadets and make them the best they can be. I also plan to apply for an international training next year where I could go overseas to China, Australia, or the United Kingdom and represent the United States Naval Sea Cadets' finest cadets. A lot of people don't know this, but my great-grandpa, Joseph R. Slonaker, is always with me. Even though he is not with us today, I carry his ID card with me, alongside mine, so that he is always with me while in uniform. He is one of the main reasons I joined the program, along with the support I get from my hometown, Greenville, Ohio. Thank you so much, Barrett. Sincerely, Samuel R. Gilmore.
What a nice letter.
Well composed.
What a nice letter.
Yes.
Wow, nice. You'll let us have that too to scan later too, huh?
That needs to be framed.
Yeah, that is very nice.
It hung in the the glass thing down there at the club for a long time.
Oh yeah, I saw it.
Did
I
you?
saw it. I sure did.
Okay.
Gary mentioned it. I
Yeah.
remember reading it. Yeah, what a nice letter. What a nice letter.
And that when he had his induction, when he got his was made the CPO,
Right.
we got to watch that whole thing, and it was so impressive.
It's on video somewhere?
I have it on my phone. Gary either has it on his phone or my phone, but that shows they have the pass. They made it look like just like a regular ship.
Yeah. See, that's part of the work we have to do, because because we can get into other databases just by shaking hands with somebody. You know, what we're doing is we can go shake hands with somebody and get somebody else's material. Like for example, the stuff that's online from Library of Congress, and anybody has access to, we can get that too. So that could be part of our library. Unfortunately, only 5% of their stuff is digital, and that's why we're starting this digital thrust to get, so we can get it all online there. But we should be able to show that. So in other words, we would be able to catalog that, like that letter would have your grandchild's name and Bob's, you know, be cross-referenced to where if anybody looked up Bob, that would show up also. You know what I'm saying? That's the catalog work we have to do. And it's not difficult. It's not going to be difficult, especially with, you know, algorithms they use for search engines and stuff now. It'll be easy, but that's our target. That's what we're after.
Only 16 years old. Wow.
Only 16 years old, and that's fabulous. That's part of that legacy I'm talking about, you know. You do the right thing, your legacy is awesome, like Bob's. And thank you both again for being here today. Next week we're going to have Stephanie Huber here, and I haven't told her this yet, but I'd like to have her husband here too. Stephanie Huber sung the national anthem for us at our talent show, and she works at the Air Force Base. She's out of the Air Force now, but she's a Operation Iraqi Freedom veteran with the Air Force, and she's up next. Thank you guys very much for coming. Appreciate it. We're going to get with you and get all that stuff and get a catalog.